Hello everyone, Penny here, and today I'm showing you the papers that I'm gathering for the Scrap Junk Journal, and this is an event in the Junk Journal Barter Destash group. I have several different types of papers, and the swap calls for a journal to be made out of like Franken paper. To make your own paper, you just use bits and pieces to make your own paper. You can either glue it or you can either sew it, and I actually do both. I use a glue stick, and then I wait till it dries overnight, and then I will sew it down. So here I'm just showing you my paper choices. Some pink dyed paper, coffee dyed paper, hickory dyed paper, scrapbook paper, just some scraps that I had. And I'm trying to organize them and get them together. And actually the coffee dyed paper is from Misprints, so I just coffee dyed it. I still want to use it. There is just some junk papers in here. There is some junk mail. I'm going to show you that that I'm going to use it. I have some vintage craft book page here, probably back from the 80s, that I'm going to put here. Now the swap calls for a journal to be 5x8 and it has 8 pages, which makes it 32 sides. It must have pockets, it must have tucks, it must have a decorated cover, and it must have Franken paper. So you're going to be actually creating your own Franken paper to actually put in this journal. Now my Franken paper is going to be my cover. I'm using the file folder that you see there on the right as my cover. And I'm going to show you about how to make the folder cover, how that you prep it so that you can make Franken paper out of it. Here I am. As you notice, the file folder already has creases, so I am creasing where those creases are. There's usually 4. And for one signature, I'm only gonna, I usually do just 1/4 of an inch for one signature. That's all that this swap is required. If you do 2 signatures, of course, that would be 1/2 an inch. So 2/4. So, the way the file folder is, it's really super easy to make a cover out of a file folder because there's 4 quarters there in the middle, with the lines there that are already, there for you to follow. That's scored, actually. I'm trying to think of the word. So I am just making sure that I have the actual one. And I'm trying to show you here which one that I'm using to actually give me the 1/4 of an inch. So I'm just showing you how that I'm going to measure and how that I'm going to make sure that I have my spine, because it's already there for you. You just have to kind of figure out which one, if it's 1 signature or if it's 2 signatures. So I am going to measure here because it needs to be 5x8. So I'm using my quilter's ruler and a pencil, and I think I get it an index card here and actually write out the measurements for you to see. Here I get my quilter's ruler back, and that last and that's how I measure my 5 inches. And then I measure 8 1/4 because I want to have a little bit of overhang past my pages. My pages are going to be exactly 5x8, so my cover needs to be 5 1/4, 8 1/4. That's how I do mine. Now, if you don't like that, you can do it, but that's how I like mine. So here I am scoring it, and of course my ruler moves, but I'm scoring it with a bone folder. And then I'll turn this in because I want those to be pockets inside my cover. So I'm leaving that. I'm not cutting that off. I'm just folding it and scoring it, making sure that it's pretty well straight. And then I'm making sure that I'm in my middle line because I marked it. So I'm making sure I'm in my middle fold there, my middle score mark. I'm making sure so that I can line it up and making sure that it's straight, pretty well straight. So then I need to do the other side. So I'm going to flip it over. Now, when I measure the 5 1/4, I measure the 5 1/4 mark needs to, it needs to be on that first score line. Okay, so I flipped it over. So the 5 1/4 mark is right there on that first score line. Okay, that way that gives me enough spine of 1/4 of an inch for my one signature. And here you see me doing the scoring again, so that I can have that pocket for the inside of the cover. So here I'm flipping the file folder, making sure I have my middle line marked like I need to give me that spine width. And now I'm going to need 8 1/4, so I measure from the bottom and go to the top. Here we go. So I switched it around to have what I need because that's how I do it. So I'm measuring my 8 1/4, just making a line here. And I begin to do this and I think, well, I'm just going to rip it. So here's my ripping tool. If you need to know how to make those, I have a video, but it is just from the leftover piece from the saran wrap aluminum foil stuff, that cutter there. Some are metal and some are the cardboard. This is a metal piece, and you can see in my YouTube videos if you need to know about how to make the ripper. Here I am gluing the papers on so that later on I can sew it all together to make Franken paper. Thank you for watching part 1. Stay tuned for the rest of the process of making this scrap junk journal using and making Franken paper. Bye everyone, have a great afternoon.